All right, you guys. Hello, hello, hello. We are live and ready to get into this conversation. Thank you to Horace for coming to us with this idea to, really have this conversation. Guys, hello, hello, hello. We are live and ready to
listening and watching and playing at the same time.
Sorry. No, I was trying to click it off.
I know I do the same thing. Do not disturb. But no, we thank you, Towns, for really bringing this to our attention and giving us the opportunity really to share our thoughts. And I feel like it's important not just for us to express ourselves for us, but for the community as well. And as we have this conversation, it's an opportunity for us to really, let out our feelings, our thoughts, but it's a time to start having a conversation so we as a community can heal and start thinking about ways of mobilizing and, continuing the conversation forward so that we can organize. And you made a very powerful point on Twitter. I think it was on Twitter or your Facebook. You made a post. I saw it on all your networks. I just didn't see it on Facebook yet. About the lack of organization and how, we need to do better as far as organizing and different things. And I agree. I think it's all over the place. I think now that we know that there's infiltrators that are hell-bent on destroying the narrative and taking the focus away from the movement, we really need to regroup. I agree with Erykah Badu. She was like, we're outmanned, we're outgunned. We need to fall back. And when you need to fall back, It doesn't mean that you're giving up. It means we need to regroup and think and be smart, because what we don't need to do is add more bodies. The body count is already going up. Another man was murdered yesterday and they left his body in the street for 12 hours.
Disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah, I posted that on my Twitter. So there's it's there. Breaking news recently, if you all don't know, that the independent medical examiner that George Floyd's family hired, they should not have had to do it, but they did it, and thank God they did, found that he did die indeed by asphyxiation, which we all knew because we all saw it.
We all existing
that man in the truck, so he never should even got out the truck. But anyway, and so we already know the cover up with the medical examiner. We're also happy that they changed, so the prosecutor has changed. I feel like now with this new autopsy report, that third degree manslaughter needs to come to murder 1, murder 2, because we all saw y'all murder this man. So I really want to say first, before we really get into this conversation, I have a note here, a comment that I wrote, because this is one of probably the most uncomfortable conversations we will ever have.
But it needs to be had,
and it needs to be had.
Who cares, right?
Please make sure that as we get into this conversation, especially in the comments, because sometimes words hurt and we can't hear your tone. So we're just asking you to be respectful and honor people's differences, because people are going to come to this conversation with a different point of view. And that's one of the things that we know how to do here is agree to disagree, and we do it respectfully. We cannot have this conversation disrespecting one another. I don't care what color your skin is. The problem is we're not paying attention to people's skin color enough. People talk about, I don't see color. That's a lie from the pit of hell. Because if you don't see color, then
even if you don't see color, that's a problem. Because then the issues, just like the all lives matter crap, and we'll talk about that.
Right. So please just right. So right now, as we engage in this conversation, we want to hear from you. It's a town hall. We want you to be engaged, but we just want you, in order for us to heal, and it has to start with us. Representation matters. This is probably also going to be the blackest conversation you're going to see from us. And it's okay, because we're Black. We have experiences. I can say firsthand, if you didn't see my live earlier, I went live for about 30 minutes. And I can tell you right now, I'm probably going to cry again. I don't know what to tell you, but I have experienced racism from the time that I was in elementary school.
Me too.
And a lot of Black people have. D.B. Woodside ran down like a small fraction of his encounters from the age of 7, 5, 7, like you're seeing it. So this is not fiction. This is not something out of a Spike Lee. It's like you're living a Spike Lee movie right now. Like art is imitating life, but life actually is imitating art. It's vice versa. And so it's kind of crazy. So I want to turn it over to Horace and let him kind of open up with his thoughts on, because this is right up his alley. And really kind of open up some conversation around what we're seeing and, you know, kind of help steer us. I don't want to say in the right direction because I don't even know if there is quote, a right direction so much as it is something that makes sense, because there needs to be a better way, a formula or something to move forward, because peaceful ain't working. Being overly aggressive is not working because that's being used against us. Things are turning on us from the inside. And so how do we get smart about it? Because I can tell you right now, one of the things I feel like we need to do is stop putting everything on social media. Like I feel like we need to go old school Black Panther, where we need to have secret meetings and you need to be screened before you come in and have a meeting and people don't need to know about it. You know, that's just me. But I feel like, you know, in the age of social media, we have so many opportunities, but there's those same opportunities, those same tools are being weaponized, if I can say it that way, again. So how can we, what do we do? Where do we begin? What's an opportunity for us?
Well, first off, I want to say hello to everyone that tuned in. I think everyone is emotional right now.
Yes.
I think Jeff isn't too far behind me on position and our thoughts. You know, I'm 40 years old, and I did not know if I would make it to be 40 growing up in urban area. You know, we're from Riviera Beach.
We from the row. We from the row. Before we got gentrified, we from the row.
which had its own hurdles. But the other day I penned a letter to a lot of people. Even when I had a radio show that I labeled the Black Republican, I did that because I wanted to manipulate our own ignorance and our own misunderstanding of stuff, because a lot of people would tune in and hear the word Black and Republican, and they shut down.
They think Uncle Toms are coons.
Right. So it's not.
They would tune in.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, they would tune in, Jeff, and then they would hear the message, and then they would walk away like, but damn, okay, that's not what I was looking for. That's not what I thought you were going to be talking about.
Right.
And again, this is warfare. This is what my letter was yesterday. Dr. Hughes, you know, for the last 10 years, I've been at protests. I've been organizing protests. I have been front line for a long time. But last year, I came to the position where I said, I'm not. You know, for the last 10 years, I've been at protests.
It ain't me.
No, that was me. I'm trying to mute, and they won't let me.
But I made something controversial last year. I told it I wasn't marching anymore. I wasn't marching because if anybody, we were taught about Martin Luther King and you were taught about Malcolm X, but you were taught about them. You didn't study them for yourselves. And a lot of that teaching was indoctrination. They teach you about Martin Luther King had a dream, but Martin Luther King died 4 years later. He died because he shut that damn economy down.
They also didn't teach you that Martin Luther King also had his militant ways as well. Because if you listen to that letter from a Birmingham jail, he stopped saying, I'm going to be nice. And he started saying,
read his later works. It was his later works that really showed a deeper, I'm not going to say more meaningful, but it definitely showed a different side of him. Because later in his life, he very much became, he definitely steered towards the Malcolm end of the spectrum, towards the end of his life. All that peacefulness.
That's why they shot him.
Yeah. One day, Martin Luther King got hit by a brick, and he had his breaking point. He said, I'm not taking another goddamn brick to the head. I tell anybody this, whether you black, white, yellow, or green, America is a monopoly board. America is about money. So yesterday in my letter, I was telling people, we're consumers. We used to be producers. Black America is over $1 trillion in spending power. The LGBT community recognized what we didn't. They mobilized, they organized, and they put their collective dollars together. And next thing you know, the LGBT community jumped right over the civil rights movement. So we're still asking for civil rights. And you'll hear a president nominee say, my first priority is LGBT rights, while we're still dealing with shit that we've been dealing with since the 60s.
Come on.
I try to get to understand that we have to organize. We're not outnumbered, we're out-organized. And if we were to take our buying spending power and collectively fund some political PACs, some legal groups, boycott and only support the companies that support us. Until we respect it, things aren't going to change. They're not going to change at all in America. So when I see the last thing, when I seen this man kneel on this man's neck for 9 minutes, I watched the video and I knew it was personal. For him to do that, it was a statement. So I haven't shared the video anymore. I watched it and I didn't share it because it's like modern day lynching. So every time you're sharing that image, you're adding to the fight, and it's manipulating you. It's putting fear in a lot of people, because I told myself, and I said, God help me if I'm lying. There's no way I can watch this man aspire after 9 minutes, and I'm sitting on the side filming. It's not to the young lady. I'm thankful for her filming, but for the 18, 19 other people that stood there, how did you not act? You might have taken a charge. You might have got an ass whipping, but this man would have lived.
Horace, sorry to interrupt, but it did come out recently, apparently, that he worked with this guy for 17 years as a security. And what I was saying just earlier to my friends, some of my ignorant friends who don't understand, I'm not gonna say the color of their skin, but it wasn't us. And I explained, I said, a lot of times it is police's jealousy. I mean, it goes beyond their education and their knowledge. But I think a lot of times think about it, they're getting paid $40,000 a year most of the time, if that, in these small rural areas. They see a Black strong man who probably is a threat to them, or there's something that they have. Like, hell, I've been pulled over. I had a Lexus and I have a nice car now. I get pulled over all the time for no reason. And I think the reality is they probably have a hoopty or whatever. It could be many things. So like I said, I'm gonna let you finish, but
penis envy. That sounds ridiculous, but
it's the truth. They know that the Mandingo man can come and take their white woman. It goes back to that narrative in the 20s where they said the Black man is he's free, he's savage, he's going to rape the white woman.
There you go. Bro, look at how many Black male bodies have died from the lies of white women. Look at we got modern day NFL players. I mean, football players, kids out in college, careers gone because somebody lied and they come out and say I lied. People lives have been destroyed because I believe it is a jealousy. I think there's no rationalizing or trying to understand and reason with people who feel that way. I think that Horace, I understand where you're coming from. I think that when you're not used to seeing horror,
shock or not,
like that, you go into a shock and a panic. The other thing is these kids are raised in a different genre and era than we were. They weren't raised in a time, right? We came up out of civil rights at the end where, things were coming together, but we understood our place. But our parents were still our parents and grandparents that were very active, that had us active in the movement. And I know my grandma was the secretary of our local NAACP. So it wasn't an option for us. We were with her, going to the Urban League and doing stuff like that. But this generation, you have a generation that's not used to activism on a consistent level. And so when you see listen, in the Raw, it was nothing. In South Central LA, it was nothing. That's why I said when people out here talking about rappers aren't talking about, what's happening, they've been rapping about it for a long time, but then it got turned gangster rap because you wanted to change the narrative away from them exposing the issue. But NWA and Public Enemy and Ice-T, they made a movie called Colors. I mean, it's out there. So we came up in a time where we had people it was conscious. There was a different consciousness about Blackness, and that you can't stop the fight, and you don't go in certain neighborhoods. You don't do XYZ. You know what I mean? So I think that to see that type of thing happen in front of your face, let me tell you something. When fear takes over, and it will absolutely paralyze you. And so if you're not raised to be like, to face fear down and say, you don't let this happen, you don't know what to do. The other thing is you're watching that and you see 2 other people holding this man down. So you got the knee on the neck, you got somebody holding his hands and somebody holding his feet, and you sitting there like, this can't be real life. Oh my God, what do I do? Can I move? Can I even move to intercede? What do I do? It's kind of hard. I see where you're coming from, but that lets me know too, are we failing our community by not having these conversations and teaching and helping our community to know how to respond when we see stuff like that? Even like you said, if it means catching a charge.
But that's to my point. So when we see this video of this man dying, this man expired in front of our eyes, right? That made us sad. It put fear in a lot of us. Recognize the warfare here. Do you know what that image did to the supremacists? It empowered them.
Oh yeah.
On his neck with his hand in his pocket like it's nothing. So that same image had an opposite effect. So that's why we're talking about George Floyd. We were just talking about Ahmaud last week.
And people forgot all about that because there's so many of them.
And we got one today. They killed this man, McAddy, and left his body in the street for 12 hours.
Well, let me take it a step further. Let me take it a step further. What you just said about image, Horace. Excuse me. Remember, I don't know if you ever heard the term buck breaking.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay. So it was broad daylight in front of all of us to see.
Yeah. It's you have to understand that all of this is it's very much you got to go back to that 1600 address where that man stood there in Virginia, on the banks in Virginia, and had that good old address to those white slave owners about how they can keep their slaves in line.
Willie Lynch.
It's called Willie Lynch. And they have not deviated from those instructions. It just looks different today.
That's why it's important.
It's the same thing. So they understand that imagery. We don't, because we're not teaching it to ourselves, because we have trusted the system to teach history, and that's not their job, because their job is to teach a narrative, not to really teach you to be conscious and think for yourself and understand that this is not what you do and this is not okay.
I told my son, and this is a little extreme, I told my son that look at us as prisoners of war. This was our country. My grandma always told us we didn't come on those slave ships. My grandmother was Native American. So we've been here and she can trace it back. So back to that image, like Jeff talked about buck breaking, their mental slavery is still in effect. It's evolving. So when you see that image of him on that neck, that empowered so many other racist cops and racist people. They felt empowered while we felt intimidated, fearful, and scared. Now, this is something I mentioned to the governor and it didn't get far. And this is a study. This is political, and it needs to, because we have to attack racism from every angle. Legislation-wise, you don't hear about these shootings happening on the state level with state police, state troopers. You don't hardly hear about it happening with deputies. But police, second, third, fourth generation police that have come from these racist families, what are the requirements to be a cop? Half of these cops couldn't even pass high school. You go, you do some hurdles, jump over, you take a weak test, and you're a police officer, and you can't even trust it that it was a fair process in them backwoods somewhere where they probably got the answers. And my son at 18, now he's a cop, and I'm feeling entitled, and I'm doing all kind of unloyal stuff.
Well, let's call it what it is. Let's call it this too. A lot of these cops were probably bullied and stuff in high school.
Come on.
I know one personally. And one of his main motivations was, I'm tired of people pushing me around. And I want to show people that I'm not saying it's all cops, but it seems like when they have an attitude or they look at you and you seem to remind them of what they were, resemble what they went through. They probably on you.
It's definitely an insecurity. And I think that's another big piece of it is when you, insecurity is a mother. And Jeff, you said it earlier. It's definitely when you see the specimen that is a black man, and I'm not sexualizing this.
No,
but understand when they put the black man on the auction block, he was darn near naked. You don't see very many pictures of black women that were on the auction block that were darn near naked.
No, they
didn't strip naked. Her like they would strip the black man.
Well, no, they were naked sometimes, and not only that, they would. I mean, they were so naked they would literally open their butt to see if they
see it. And so it's like, are you serious? What does that have to do with his strength of being able to work? And if you look at it, there's a lot of parallel into how we vet athletes for sports. They do the same thing. You on that auction block, baby.
Well, that's why Cam Newton's not with the team right now. Cam Newton is better than half these quarterbacks, and because he's not physically fit right now. But the reality is because he's outspoken, they don't want him on a team, you know.
I never took it serious until I was on my first job in government, and I worked with a guy who was a foreigner. And every other day, all he talked about, he would say something about, oh, you black guys with your big cocks and da-da-da. And after a while, yes, he ended up getting fired about 2 years later. But to hear that in redundancy, you're like, is it that serious? And he had such a hatred and prejudice for black people.
It sounds it sounds like envy to me.
It is.
That's envy. I wouldn't even call it hatred. If they're bringing up something that you have that they don't, that's envy, which leads to disgust.
Mm-hmm.
That is. Trust me, I know about it very well.
So back to this, when we're talking about racism, we have to be educated, because many people think the protests that Martin Luther King did, you know, we did the rioting and the looting. They don't understand. Again, Martin Luther King was killed because he shut down an economy in this place. Second of all, the black people united. They walked to work. Instead of getting on that bus and driving down the street for 15 minutes, they all walked to work, made them an hour late. They lost pay, and they walked home in the afternoons for over a year. That's the kind of commitment that they had to the cause. Nowadays, we failed them because this generation doesn't have the nuts that we used to have, and we can't stay. Hell, we couldn't even do right during the COVID. So, you know, talking about racism,
they still ain't doing it.
Actually, educate people the power that we have, and how if we do this, this will strike a blow to the supremacy front. I know it sounds like warfare, but it is to me.
No, it is war. We're at war. At the end of the day, we need to change tactics, because you have to hit them where it hurts, and green is what they respond to. Period, point blank. So how do you starve the system of their resources? That's what it boils down to, because I don't care how much money they have. If you starve it right, those resources are going to run out. So how do you starve that resource? You know what I'm saying? How do you block that flow? How do you starve it? And it starts with what Horace said. You got to be willing to make a sacrifice. So my question is, have we become too lazy as a people because we want everything easy? So we become too lazy. We don't want to ride the bus. We don't want to you know what I mean? Like, have we become those people to where we don't want to sacrifice? You know, I don't know.
Dr. Hughes, I want to say this. We scared to die. And I know that sounds crazy. We are scared to die for the cause, because if you look at day to day, you know, like we talked about the boycott and whatnot, we don't have that same commitment to the cause. We just don't.
Right. I agree.
We got a lot of fear in us.
Listen, at this point, we do need to be reading Sun Tzu's Art of War. You can just listen to it. It's on audio. It's on Facebook. It's free. Listen to Sun Tzu's Art of War. Because that's where we are. We just got to be smart about it, because let me tell you something. God can do a lot with a little. You can look at the Old Testament, and them folks, they didn't have a whole lot. The Israelites didn't have a whole lot. But baby, when they did what God said do, they had a plan. And guess what? They did it. They mobilized. They did what God said do. They took the spoils, and they got the resources they need to keep fighting every step of the way. And we just need to... I don't know why we feel like at some point we got to be peaceful and docile. Jesus flipped over tables, people.
I want to say this to you. I want to say this. This was my point. I lost it a second ago. First of all, again, we have to be educated. We look for people to lead us, right? We're always looking for a leader. But then when we get a leader, they kill him. Whether you see, look, even with Nipsey was given the blueprint to the inner city in Cali, and they killed him. Every time you have a voice, they kill him. And I think people are afraid. You know, it's no coincidence when you look at COINTELPRO. Every time you have someone that has a message, to kind of bring the advancement forward, he mysteriously dies or he's killed. And most of the time, they use one of us to kill our own.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to Nipsey.
Yeah, but it's the truth. I think that that's the other thing. How when these people are raised up, what are we doing to rally around them to protect them at all costs? Again, I think it goes back to what you said. Who's afraid to lay their life down for the cause to move forward? We don't see that. So Epiphany, hey girl, join the conversation. What you got?
Girl. Well, I see this from a different lens. A struggle. I view this from a different lens. And the reason why is because I actually saw the Baltimore riots. So most people can't say they've lived through several riots in their lifetime.
Right.
I can. I can now. You know, just viewing a whole, you know, all of this stuff, and I will be honest, it was very difficult to watch the video. The little snippets that I did see did trigger me. And I decided that for my own mental health and well-being, to not put myself through watching the video in its entirety.
Right. I didn't either.
I feel as though, because you know, first of all, watching the Freddie Gray thing was enough. Then you have Philando Castillo, and you have several videos that you can watch that show people giving their lives, maybe not even for a particular cause, but only because they were at the wrong. Oh, no problem. They were at the wrong place at the wrong time, or they didn't know that they were going to be a part of the cause, right? So just coming from a different point of view and having seen the Baltimore riots happening and understanding how Baltimore really hasn't recovered at all, I definitely am praying for the intelligence of everyone that is involved in the riots. The reason why is because insurances are not going to cover businesses that are, you know, are self-sufficient. On top of that, we just had COVID, like you said, Dr. Hughes. People were just fighting to stay afloat. Now you've burnt their business down.
Well, I think
and I don't think I don't know if you heard my whole thing. So I will give you more from what I heard
what you said. I wasn't in here, but I could hear everything. Good old conference.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of Black businesses do not have insurance, and that's the main ones getting destroyed. If we're going to come up, tear down the Sally Mae building, tear down.
Hell yeah, child support office.
Sally Mae says the child support office, the police station. You tear down all this stuff, they ain't gonna stop us.
Well, case in point, I will say, in Baltimore, they were building a brand new senior community when the riots happened in Baltimore during Freddie Gray. And I barely made it out of Baltimore 10 minutes before the riots happened. 10 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah. So when I say I was like there, I was literally there.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, there was people involved and saw them on CNN that night, you know, watching people that I knew involved in certain things. I will say, as we've seen them torch down the community center, and that community center is never going to be built, ever. They scraped together millions of dollars to create that community center in Baltimore, and it went up in like 3 minutes because it was just it was the skeleton of it.
What is y'all's opinion on some of the mayors, i.e. the incompetent woman in DC, Bowser, sending the National Guard?
I don't feel that that's inappropriate. I think that's very appropriate because you have people capitalizing on something that we should be peacefully protesting on.
I'm not doing anything though. But here's my issue with that. She stayed silent and didn't do shit the whole time when all this happened. And then now she wants to send the militia. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I understand she came out and was consistent, but she stayed quiet. And now she wants to handle it when it's looting because she's losing money in her city.
Is she protecting the system or is she protecting property?
But she's missing the bigger picture.
Because you always need compliance.
How do you know that wasn't Trump?
No, it was her. She blatantly.
How do you know she didn't get a call from Trump?
She has her own right because all those governors, that governor call, about 34 of the governors were against him. So she has the ability to say, I don't want to do what you want to do.
I completely agree.
Y'all have to remember that Trump don't run your state.
But my issue is, as someone who's been through something like this before.
Me too.
I definitely agree. There's people that don't want to be a part of it. And if you don't want to be a part of it and maybe your house is next when people's cars get looted and they're ruined and whatever, and you don't want any parts of it, you have that. It's America. You don't have to be a part of it. Why force someone to be a part of something that they don't want to be a part of? It doesn't even matter what color they are. Maybe they don't want to be a part of it.
Tiffany, while I understand what you're saying, we as Black people, especially Black men, we don't want to be a part of all the craziness. I should not feel unsafe walking outside to my car. Or I should not feel unsafe wanting to go in college to 7-Eleven and I'm being told you don't look like a college student. So because that, we're going to lock you up. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't want to be a part of that either. I think it's going to tell these people who don't want to be a part of it, it's going to open their eyes. It's the same thing for people who weren't comfortable with Barack Obama being president, but it forced them.
But again, you're saying that Bowser is stupid. My comment is how Bowser is stupid for sending the National Guard. I don't think that it's stupid. I think that it's the right thing to do.
The way she did is my problem.
Whether you agree with her timeliness or not, it's what it is.
The police are already shooting and attacking the Black protesters who are peaceful. 6 died in DC last night. And one of the videos, he was literally standing there with a sign and he got shot in his leg. Why are you sending more reinforcements to those who are already hurting us?
Let me get in on this because I really want to caution people about understanding what it means when the National Guard comes in. You are just a few decisions away from martial law.
Absolutely.
And that is not what we need right now. Please understand martial law is what you want right now. Because they're already weaponized. Martial law, under what we're living in right now, in this time, martial law is not what we need or want in America. So I understand both sides. And I feel like there is a time and a place for it. But just to be sending them out and you haven't had any outbreaks, it just really depends. But yeah, the governors have a right, the mayors have a right to tell I don't want it in my city. Just because they're available don't mean they have to be there. I saw a picture of the National Guard in Jacksonville and there was nothing popping off in Jacksonville, but they riding down the street. That's a waste of money and resources. What you in Jacksonville for 2 days before anything popping off? What you doing?
Hughes.
Yeah.
We got a disclaimer here. Let's be honest. America has had this pot on the stove for a long time. It's boiling like grits. We had a protest yesterday that was peaceful. Even Palm Beach Sheriff walked with the protesters.
Yep, I saw it.
And they walked all day in that sun, and it was peaceful, right?
That's how it was in Miami.
Sun goes down, the climate changes. I told someone, I said,
the drinks hit.
Yeah.
Right. So I told them the protesters that were marching, they going home to take a nap. They've been in that sun all day. What they find out is a lot of people coming from outside the area, and a lot of those supremacy groups came in and started the looting and whatnot last night. So around the country, that's being revealed. It ain't us.
Right.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this. As I just got my hair done. And I'm not gonna. Thank you. So certain, when you're in the hair shop, sometimes certain things are being sold and products are being exchanged and I will say products were being exchanged from looting last night.
Yeah.
So you can't say it's just one group. I think that varying groups are involved in looting. Varying groups are involved in rioting and doing bad things. We can't say it's only one group. We have to acknowledge that some of our own people loot and some of our own people do bad things. Okay. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't do the X and we shouldn't do Y. I'm giving you my viewpoint on it.
Of course.
Again, and no judgment, if, whatever. But at the end of the day, when we have stores that are vital to our community, that we do want to support Black business. And I only think of like Black Wall Street and things like that never recovered from things like this.
That's right.
Rosewood.
And by the way, if you don't know what she's talking about, where 6 city blocks in Greenwood, Oklahoma was burned down on May 31st. I think it was 50 some years ago or so. Look it up. And it was awful. It was horrific. And guess what? It all started off of a white woman's lie. I did a whole thing.
And it was a lot of anger, though, that a black community was self-sufficient and did not need anything from the white community. And the white community was losing money because of it.
Yeah, because the white community was actually going across the tracks to the Black community because it was a better quality product, shopping and spending their money on over there. And so off of the lie of a white woman, these people popped off and burned 6 city blocks. And those people, that community never, ever recovered. So for me, listen, don't come talking to me about peaceful when you're not peaceful. Don't come talking, listen, it's right for you. Right for us. Don't come talking to me about Blacks having a fair chance, and we don't have a fair chance. And if you haven't seen the guy has them doing the foot race, and he tells them to turn around and look, and he says, "You got opportunities you didn't even earn." They're already behind the curve. That's what we're talking about here. This conversation is about the fact that we're behind the 8 ball. Every single chance we get from the womb, we're already behind the 8 ball. Not just here in America, but other countries. But specifically, we've had powder kegs of all of this hate and racism building for so long.
True.
At some point, it was gonna not. Why do you think that when you have fireworks, they tell you no smoking? Because all it takes is a little bit of spark. It don't take much for it to pop off. And so what we're dealing with now is this was that thing that broke the camel's back, because we didn't learn from Rodney King. We haven't learned from all of these things along the way. You know what I mean? And so it comes to a point where it's like, listen, what do you expect people to do when they sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired? Because at some point, all of this turn the other cheek. Listen here. Don't come to me with that. Give me God that answers by fire. Give me that flip the tables over Jesus. Give me those answers, because we need a strategy, because faith without works is dead. What are we going to do? We need action, and we need to have a conversation like Horace was saying. We need to have a conversation about where to start and mobilize and be smart with the resources we have. How do we turn the tables and get those resources they have and make it our own and start to build?
Okay. Can we do simple stuff? Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I want to back way up to what Epiphany said about the looting real quick. You made good points. I did want to bring up that the looting, I think, was fine. And now you're seeing, and I hate to say this, but it's the truth, you're seeing a lot of young white kids and a lot of people who don't even know why they're out there destroying stuff. They're just doing it because they're bored and they're sitting in the house. I saw one girl, there was something I retweeted on Twitter earlier. There was these girls who literally were in someone's DM saying, "Oh, it looks like fun. Let's go out there." Then she spray painted Black Lives Matter on a thing and posted, "Oh, we're on your side." And I'm like,
how?
I'm like, no, you're doing it for attention, to take photos and get noticed. And what's happening is this making people not take it seriously anymore. I think they need to stay their asses out of it, to be honest. And then you were saying the stuff about the sharing materials or being part of the economy. I'm gonna say one thing, and I'm gonna say it: integration hurt Black people way more than it helped.
It shot us.
Be mindful, 70% of the Black teachers got fired. A lot of Black business went out of business, and it put us back, actually.
Why?
Which is why there's a lot of Black people against it.
Why? Because the illusion of inclusion, they made us believe that we were missing out on something when our community was self-sufficient, they were strong, and they could thrive on their own. I want to say something. You know that have you guys ever heard of the phrase? Is it justice or just us?
Right.
Right. Never heard that. Well, the illusion of inclusion inside some of our education, we were still getting indoctrinated. I come from a city that was an all-black city, right? But a lot of us went off. We got successful, and we bought into what's the American dream. American dream is I'm making so much money. I want to go out and move into this nice community.
American dream.
That's what I said. But we're gonna move over here to Wellington, where ain't no black people, and I'm gonna be the success story that I feel like because I'm staying somewhere that I'm not supposed to. I want to keep it simple for Black America. We talk about the justice system being, well, hell, it's just us. Ain't no justice. We need to start getting on these juries instead of running from jury duty. We need to teach our kids that it's okay to be on the police force because you can't have a diversified police force if you ain't got no black people to police those communities. Community policing is great because right now in South Florida, one of the main things is you get an urban community and you get some of the most racist cops to come in and terrorize this community because one, hell, that's where they want to be and get the action and get ranked. Second, there's not a lot of African-American police because we've always been taught that being a police is horrible.
Hold on. Some of the black cops that I've come across, and there's a video of one in Atlanta who was basically telling the girl, come out, come out. Some of them are assholes too.
Illusion of inclusion.
They are assholes. I mean, complete assholes. Hell, the guy on Law and Order, the black detective, he's the meanest one. I mean, that's not reality, but it's true.
Some of us ain't us.
Can I just drop some for y'all? I'm gonna drop some for y'all. I think just a lot of people gonna understand this when I say this. The Boondocks. Boondocks been trying to tell y'all forever.
Oh, the show? What happened to that show? When's it coming back? I love that show.
Coming back this year.
The creator's working on how he wants to bring it back because he's got some, he wouldn't sign with what they wanted him to do.
We need him
right now. So he wanted to be true to the original cartoon. And so if you're gonna stifle my voice, I ain't giving you nothing. And I ain't mad at him. I miss it, but I want, I'd rather have his voice because that's what we needed. Because Huey, he was militant, and that show dealt with some stuff, but boy, exposed the Uncle Ruckuses.
He was
because the reality is, it's out there. It's out there, and that show covered a whole lot of the ignorance that we are within our own selves. I'm sorry, I love my people. Trust me, I love my people.
Did you see the episode of Martin Luther King? Did you see the episode where Martin Luther King recommended the speech? That speech was right though.
It was on point.
Yeah, we so ignorant sometimes, and sometimes we so militant that we miss it ourselves. It's just like some of the decisions and things we do. It hurts us, and it's like, come on, we got to renew our mind about our community because they don't care. And the few that do, that speak out, it's not enough of them that are speaking out to help, to want to say, leave these black folks alone and let's give them their fair share. It's not. Look at what they did to Huey P. Newton. They villainized this man, weaponized, just mobilized against him, murdered him, and then took his thesis. And now we got our whole welfare system is that man's thesis. And then they made it to where it's hard for black people, something that he made for our community. We can't even get it. And then tell us that, you're just going to be on welfare when the majority statistically of people who are on welfare in
white women
are white women, and a lot of them women, 71%. And then you're gonna say that you see what I'm saying? 71%. So we have to build our community, it's weaponized against us.
We are off balance. We're off balance. We getting hit from every damn direction.
Direction.
So we are getting hit from every direction. We can't keep our balance. We can't keep our focus. But let's be real. Entertainment, most of us are in front of a TV. I said this on another show. When someone dies, we were just talking about Ahmaud last week. Now we're talking about George Floyd. So we're going to do the hashtag. We're going to do the shirts. We're going to pose. But what the fuck are we going to really do that's impactful? Because there's so many things that's always happening that you can't even respond to one thing because there's something else coming. You have Sandra Bland. You got Trayvon Martin. And I'm like, at some point, it's coming every week. Every couple of weeks, and we're outraged full of emotion, and then some of us are just full of fear.
Some people do it for attention. Like I think
you have to understand that what's happening is in all of these situations, our emotions are weaponized against us.
Yep.
And so when your emotions are weaponized against you, you don't stand a fighting chance because you're not thinking clearly. You're leading with your heart instead of your head because you can't get out of how you feel long enough to think strategically or to have a mature conversation around, first of all, why you feel what you feel. So let's redirect that energy. Let's use that anger. Let's use that pain, but use it in a way that's strategic that gets us somewhere. Because right now, it ain't getting us nowhere.
Epiphany too quiet. Epiphany, you are too quiet, and usually, because that means you're thinking, and I know it's in that brewing. You're too quiet. Share your thoughts, please. You're too quiet.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know. I just think that we do have to do better. We do need to come together. I've been saying it on Facebook, you know. Divided we fall, and together we stand. And if we're going to stand together, we need to stand together. What does that look like? That's the question I think that you're asking, Horace. Are we picking up our Black neighbor that needs to go to work and taking them to work because they can't ride the bus? I mean,
about them saying they broke and got a car.
Well, I mean, I'm saying if we're going to make an action, what does it look like? That's our question, right?
I agree with you. That's what people do.
Yeah, we're saying the adverse. I think the other thing that I've been just thinking about, as an educator, is what have I been doing to educate my parents? As far as, I do work in a predominantly, disproportionately uneducated area, Baltimore City. So when I talk to some of my parents and they spout off Trump's the best because he has the money, I mean, at this point, what is it that you say? What are we doing to educate every single person in our community? Because Dr. Hughes, you and I had this discussion. Mm-hmm. I said there's only two in the Black community, however you want to say you're African American or not, or whatever, however you describe your brown on your skin, there's only two classes. There's a super intelligence where you're educated, and then we have, unfortunately, the ignorant, or whatever else you want to classify.
Ignorant.
Ignorance being, so when we say ignorant, they don't know any better because they have not taken advantages of, or have been unable to take advantage of the educational system, or did not feel whatever it was. Unfortunately, assimilation is key in order to fight the injustices, right? You have to be able to assimilate in order to fight this injustice. And now, can you go back to that comment, please? Because I really want to talk about that.
Which one?
The one about the sororities and the Black fraternities.
Yeah, I was.
So when we talk about this, and as I was viewing myself as an educator, I always sit back and think, I have never once, ever seen a sorority or a fraternity or anyone speak out and say, this is where we stand in solidarity with thousands of Blacks in their organization.
Epiphany, hold on. You said you've never seen it, like on a national scale? Or what do you mean? Because during the Kappa Conclave last year, or 2 years, about 3 years.
Right, but how would I see that if I don't know what a Kappa is? Like, it's real talk. Where I come from, I wouldn't know what a Kappa is. I wouldn't know what an alpha is. And I'm Black. I grew up with all white people, so
me too.
I'm sorry.
No, I get it.
In the part of New Mexico I grew up in, I don't know what that is. So
yeah, we're not.
Okay, so I'll answer that. I've seen some Omegas online in their colors, in their paraphernalia,
actually from their presidents. But from their presidents. What I'm saying is they
don't work that way because they have local chapters. And so you can have on a national scale, but the impact of Divine Nine organizations is their local work. Now, have I seen it everywhere? No, but I do know in my local area I've seen it. But I think just like anything else, a lot of stuff doesn't get the publicity. The other thing is too, I think that just like with artists, you have to look at the body of work, the complete body of work that people have done. Just like I said earlier, you weren't on when I said we got rappers that's been talking about this stuff for years. NWA, Public Enemy, like for years.
Did you see what Denzel did the other day?
Right. And so we've had people who's been living that life up to this point. So it's I think that at this point to single out one incident and say, oh, I haven't seen it or that it's not on that grand scale is unfair because some of them have been doing it all along, even at the local level. And the point of doing it is not for the recognition. It's because we really care about doing the work. And I'm not Divine Nine, but I'm just saying this is what I've seen.
I don't think it's about recognition, but don't you think even at a local level, I should be able to say, oh, I saw this organization do this positive thing. I can't say that I have. Right. I can't say that I have.
Okay. I'm going to say this. Backing up, Epiphany, you make great points because there was a time where I was one of those Black people who used to be like, oh, I didn't see it or I've never experienced it or whatever. But I do think it's unfair in general. We all have those friends who in a forum will say, I never experienced or I never saw. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But let's go back to the education component. What about what we're being taught? I teach adjunct at Nova and I actually got fired. Because when I taught Black history from, slavery to Reconstruction or whatever, like Africa to Reconstruction, I got fired, not because of anything I did. It was because too many of the students were complaining that I was teaching it the right way. I was showing the slave ship conditions. I was talking about Nat Turner. I was teaching the parts that they did not want to hear.
Right.
And they said too many people were complaining. That was the excuse. I said, what were they?
Because that's not what they want you to teach. Because
they couldn't
have to understand that there's a lot happening that they don't want people to understand a consciousness. You know what I'm saying? It's like the whole point is if we can keep the people ignorant, we can control them.
I agree with this state. Can you leave this up, please? Because I agree with this.
But they only, last thing, and then we get to the fraternity part, they only teach us about the Black people who were seen as educated or in the church, what seems appropriate. So they don't teach you about Marcus Garvey and W. Ball and Cornel West, the big one right there, Malefi Asante. Look these names up. Y'all want you to be, you know what I'm saying?
They even teach you about weak Jesus. They won't tell you about Jesus in a way that's revolutionary by flipping tables. Everything is to get.
They're not going to teach that Jesus. They ain't going to teach that Jesus.
They're not even going to teach you that in church, Horace. So you can hang that up.
Listen, they don't even like to talk about Peter cussing people out and cutting people's head off.
They're not going to teach you that in church now.
Listen, we want that Jamaica Charge our love, peaceful, docile Jesus. We don't want that revolutionary change the people's lives and all that. We want that. No, that's not what we want, and that's the problem. We can't buffet the gospel and act like we can't Burger King the gospel.
I want to
God and Jesus. You don't want it at all. That's
a lot of y'all Jesus is still pale looking on y'all walls.
Right.
I don't have it. So I'm good.
The DC region of Kappa. Can you go back real quick to the sorority comment? The DC region of the Kappa Alpha fraternity actually organized the Million Man March in 2017. It had 608,000, sorry, Lord have mercy, it's why it's hitting me. It's 608,000 participants. We organized that. So we are doing stuff, but you have to be mindful with financial constraints and participation. It's not always easy to do stuff on a granular scale. And it's not easy when you have other chapters and stuff trying to make their own clout, but we do a lot. But see, people see fraternities and sororities as just probates and parties and whatever. And we Kappas do more than anyone else. I hate to say it, no offense, Alphas who pride themselves on that, but we do a lot more. And we organize them. And that's just one example. I can go on.
I mean, I agree. You know what? I mean, that is a huge undertaking, and sorry, maybe if anyone saw that as shade, it wasn't shade. It was it wasn't shade, but I'm just saying, when I talk about education, and Dr. Hughes and we talked about this at length after our stream, after our stream,
and that was good.
I just really believe the biggest thing that we could do to mobilize is grab 3 people and educate them. Grab 3 people and educate them. What is going on? Hear what their viewpoints are. Come together, and like I said, together we stand.
But
together we stand.
That is great, but let me tell you the issue, and I dealt with this today. When we do have different views, not me, because I'm receptive to people. What happens? People start getting mad. They attack. They go off. Huh?
They vilify you because they don't know how to. People don't know how to agree to disagree.
But I think that people will be more receptive now than ever because they want to keep their children safe.
You would think.
How many of y'all attend HBCUs? How many of you attend the HBCUs?
Not me.
Okay. Education again at the HBCU. What you're taught at the HBCU is going to be different than what you're taught at a different.
Hell, the pledging experience of the Divine Nine is completely different.
Yeah, let me say that because I can actually speak to this.
I wouldn't have made it at Howard.
I can speak to this. I can say definitively, and I'm not just from Tuskegee, but I have friends who went to Central, A&T, Howard, Winston-Salem. But I also have some that went to North Carolina North Carolina State. I went to Appalachian State, some who went to predominantly white colleges. And when we talked about our experiences, especially our first year experiences are huge in college. Stark differences. And I can say, like at Tuskegee, you can't take anything until you take freshman orientation and you have to read Up from Slavery. It's not optional. You can't take no more classes because you have to learn your history. It's not an option.
Identity.
Right? It's required. You can't, it's a prerequisite for all your classes. And if you don't take it, bye-bye. And a lot of HBCUs require certain classes like this because how can you move forward if you don't understand where you came from? And a lot of our histories, our schools are interwoven together. And I went over that when I did a whole thing about HBCUs this past Black History Month. My friends who went to predominantly white colleges, some of them had literal mental breakdowns and did not make it. My best friend from high school went to North Carolina State and ended up in a hospital, never made it. Mental breakdown. I have a high school friend who went to Appalachian State, had a mental breakdown, didn't make it. I know some who went to UNCC and went through the whole separate homecomings where you got a white homecoming and a Black homecoming. People are like, oh, that's not true. Lies. I saw it with my own eyes. So the experiences are very different, and what you walk away with.
But why?
It's profoundly different, and it's unfortunate. But like I said, I can only speak for me as far as pledging and Divine Nine. I can only imagine that is different because your walk and what you learn on the campus is different. It's a different lifestyle. It's a different culture. It just is.
Why is it different though? It's different because they recognize that you need to be stripped down and they rebuild you. They give you a different identity. If I take a young kid at 5 and I educate him in a environment where I'm teaching them about look at the Jewish community. Look at the Jewish community.
So they keep it within themselves.
I'm not giving props. I'm just saying how they.
I was about to say because they although they went through a lot, they got reparations. They got stuff given back to them for their minimal suffering in this country.
That was my point.
Yeah, my point. They have not done. People say that Jews understand their plight, but they don't because they are just as bad as the white man time.
Yeah,
I was going to say something real quick. Breaking news. We were just talking about.
Wait. Okay, hold on a second. Let Horace finish his point and then read the breaking news.
I'm sorry.
No, what I was saying to his point is about what you put in is what you get out. A lot of us were indoctrinated. I didn't know a lot of stuff until I cut off my cable back in 2010, and I started reading. So everyone said, "Well, Horace is smart." So I started reading, and once I found out I had been lied to about so many things, I got angry. Everything we've been taught has really been for a purpose of having you thinking one thing when it's not that same reality. Yeah, manipulation, but indoctrination. So well, before we close, I want to talk. We remain so emotional that we can't be focused. I'm seeing people talk about Trump, and then people are putting so much input into the presidential election. But hell, your local elections have more of an impact than the presidential.
Stand your ground laws. You're in Florida. Florida's a hot. Ooh, I could never.
That's my point. Look,
people were mad at Obama. People were mad at Obama saying he didn't do anything about it. Said he can't control.
We don't understand laws. If you look at the election, you have a bunch of people that's pissed with Trump and they want Biden. Me personally, they're both the damn same person. To be honest,
yes, they are. They both are.
Biden is going to get ripped when this segregation comments come out in a few weeks. So it's always like you always stuck with two choices, and no matter who's been the president, when is our change?
Of course, let's not forget when Obama was president. Let's not be trying to bash him because I respect him. I didn't agree with many of his policies, but I respect him. He didn't do nothing about this. People were calling for Obama, and I saw a lot of black people getting irritated with him when he kept going, guys, let's stay calm and understand that the law and order system must work. You're the black president on second term. Say a little bit more. Just a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit more, sir. You know what I'm saying? But I get at least he said something, even though it was politically correct. But
right. I get you. No, go ahead and read what you were going to say about breaking news.
I was going to say breaking news. Apparently, we're just talking about the National Guard. So they done tear gassed a bunch of black people in front of K Street just now.
Which is why
just now
the National Guard is so free because they on their way for martial law. See, they're inciting things. You have to understand that a lot is happening to be incited for martial law, and I don't think people understand what happens under martial law.
Hey Jeff, can you put the definition of what martial law is up?
They did penetrate the White House lawn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did not.
Let me tell you, I was
street or something.
No, I was down there when they actually, Lord have mercy. I was actually down there when they had made the threats. I was on a bike ride at like 11 o'clock at night. Please don't ask me why. Anyway, and so my friends were like, let's go to the White House. And I was like, you guys don't see that the police are going down there? They had put up like a tent. You could not even see the White House. The entire White House had a huge veil over it. Last night, the White House lights were off. So yes, you couldn't, and you could not get within so many blocks of the White House without coming into contact with MPs. You couldn't, like, I was down there. So I was down there when the first few threats happened, and we didn't know because we were on a bike ride. We weren't on social media or anything.
I don't think we've ever seen the White House blackout like that. And I was following I follow Shamari Stone. He's one of you all's media people on the news. And it's actually what they jumped towards was not the White House lawn. It was a park that's not far from there that they had blocked off. But then also on another street, he was there when they started throwing tear gas and all this other kind of stuff. And I was just trying to figure out why they threw it because there was no altercation or anything going on. And so when I say that, we need to change direction, start talking about protesting and mobilizing. Yes, it is our constitutional right, but when you realize it's being weaponized against you, you have to shift. And the problem is we're not pivoting and shifting at all, let alone in the right direction. We're just allowing our emotions to be weaponized against us and everything so that the narrative can be tarnished. And so they can say that the Black Lives Matter movement is a hate group. And now you're going to get, depicted as a hate group. And now they can't take you seriously because it's been weaponized against you. So all of the conversation and the things that we need to move forward, I agree. We need to have these conversations, but we also need to be doing some other things. And one of the things is you got to get out your feelings. I'm not saying don't feel what you feel. Feel what you feel, but you can't stay there. You got to find a way to shift how you feel and mobilize that into something that makes sense, that's going to move us as a people forward. How do we get Black Wall Street back? How do we get our community back? How do we finance ourselves and support ourselves and get out of this mindset that the man is going to give us anything? We need to listen to the point to where if they give it to us, they give it to us. If they don't, they don't.
Let me tell you something powerful that Alex was saying earlier. We don't realize in all this happening how many businesses Black people actually own.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
We don't.
We have so many different separate Black directories, and then you don't even know which one is accurate because folks don't keep their listing up. I can't take it seriously because you got spelling errors. There's no excellence there. So we're confused on so many levels. And maybe we started here. You know, maybe we start something here in this space where we say we want to collect and create a directory.
Oh, y'all, it's happening.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I do anything, I'm going to vet you. And what does that mean? I'm finna look up to see if you're real a business. That means
breaking news
with your city. Are you registered with your state to be a real business and not some bootleg selling stuff online? Do you have insurance for your business? Are you? Because if we gonna do it, and if we're gonna put you out there, we need to know that what we're putting out there and supporting, and we're asking other people to support is real.
Babylon.
So I just want to say Trump is mobilizing the military. So at this point, you guys, what the thing is that we need you. I would start here, please. This is my plea for everyone, is to educate what martial law is. Mm-hmm. Under martial law, there cannot be any voting. The president stays in place until martial law is removed. We need to stop the violence. I understand, but at this point, we are being violent. We are. And I say, when I say we, please understand, I include myself as a human first, and then a woman, and then maybe that's not right for some people, but as humans, we need to stop the violence. At this point, it has to stop. We've got to stop looting stores. We've got to stop being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Let me tell you something. The other day, there was 8 boys that were like 6'2" and over. I stopped all of them in the store, and I said, look, one, all of y'all are wrong because you don't have a mask on. And I had extra masks, so if they didn't have one, I was going to hand them to them. Okay. So if I'm saying something to you, it's because I care. I said, 2, we are at a racial tipping point right now. You guys walking around the store doing this to people is not okay. These people are not bothering you. Why would you do that?
Miseducated.
Right. So I'm telling you, it took a lot for me. It took a lot for me. I'm not 3/4 of a human. I'm a full human, but I get what you're saying. It's not what you're told. It's what you believe. And I'm willing to lay my life down for whatever the cause is. But I whatever. So I'm saying I am willing to go and say something to these young Black men. How many people are doing that? No one else but me did that. I'm 5'7". There's 8 or 9 young men that could have definitely picked me up, threw me, and did whatever they wanted to me. But I said something. It just takes 2 words. Hey.
But how else do you want people to echo their sentiment? Like, people are angry, we're tired. You keep poking a bear.
No, they were just in the grocery store, Jeff. They were in the grocery store in Harris Teeter in Virginia. Come on.
I have friends and family who I've seen on live video getting beat and stuff by police in these protests, and they were just standing there. So it's not just violent people. That's the narrative the media is putting out there as well. But I have seen, like just now, someone sent me an article where they went into the Maserati dealership. No, the San Leandro Dodge dealership and drove off.
Yeah, they were driving off with them Dodges.
Yeah, you saw that? Yeah.
So, I mean, let me answer this because I feel like I've definitely hit a nerve with Candy. Candy, I get it. We're going to agree to disagree. I'm going to stand on my viewpoint no matter what because of what I've seen in my lifetime. And I'm not saying you're wrong at all. You can, if you feel that you're right and you feel that I'm wrong, I'm perfectly fine with that. But trust me, I have been through a lot. Matter of fact, let me tell you something. Let me tell you how real this is for me. This hit me so hard. What bothered me the most about this man getting his neck stood on, or I'm sorry, he wasn't understanding, but same sense. Okay, so what bothers me the most is I'm personally waiting for a crime to be investigated. Okay, personally, me. I've been waiting for 4 years for something to be solved. Okay, something, and it's major. Okay, and I know who did it, and I had to give my DNA for this thing. Okay, I really want people to understand. I gave my DNA. My DNA is in the system because I want this crime solved. Okay. Do you know, this hit me so hard because I'm like, there's so many crimes that are real out there other than a damn $20 bill.
Right.
That are going on that you really could be solving, but this is the stuff that you're doing. I want you to understand, maybe I'm not, maybe me saying I'm okay with the National Guard coming out doesn't click with you, but honey, I get it. I'm more invested in this than you will ever know. People have things going on that they don't necessarily share, but I'm sharing just a little snippet of what I'm going through.
Epiphany, one thing I admire about you is you are going through that, and I applaud that you're still out there teaching. I mean, you're in a position, literally working, where you can empower and change a lot of perspectives and lives. So kudos for what you do, and I pray that what you're going through gets resolved, because that's bullshit.
Jeff, maybe people like to hear stuff coming from celebrities. So, like Denzel said, this ain't checkers, this chess, man. Listen, in my community, I've been Killer Mike before Killer Mike was Killer Mike. Me and Killer Mike are cool. We have a issue where the message has to come from certain people. We are, like, again, we got to educate. Our frustration is misplaced. So yesterday, our silent and our nonviolent protest turned into something else.
Right.
Our emotions make us fall into the stereotypes, the things that they paint against us. And we look at a situation where we are riot and tear up stores in our own community. Now you got to drive your ass to the community. They don't want you in their community to spend those dollars. So
and they have higher taxes. They're going to get money off the higher tax bracket that you're paying. How about that?
So we are not educated. We don't understand warfare. I've been saying this from the beginning of the show. Understand warfare. Know the consequences. Stop acting off emotions. We have to get our shit together and understand the moves that we are making, because a lot of them only hurt us. And when we destroy a small business, that's a black business, you already complained that we don't get the same kind of loans. We don't get funding. And so those corporations like Target, Walmart, they're going to get a check. They're going to be rebuilt. But we're hurting.
Those aren't the ones. I don't, you know what? I care about Target, but not like that. Like, I'm not worried about Target. I'm worried about that little mom and pop shop that couldn't even get the federal loan because the other companies went and they got them all.
That's the real looting. That's the real looting that's happening.
And that's what's bothering me. Please don't mistake what I'm saying. The part that's bothering me is that little mom and pop shop that couldn't even get the EIDL loan or the PPP or whatever. They couldn't even get it because people like Ruth Chris getting it.
Don't tear up your
I want to say something.
Right.
And breaking the radio. Now I'm disconnected. I got mad. I broke a radio, so now I can't listen. I don't know what's going on. The emotions are crippling us. We know where we're at, but we have to actually get together, come up with a plan, come up with a checklist. Jury duty, diversifying the police. There's a whole checklist there, but we got to do that instead of just sitting around waiting for the next hashtag next week.
And then about the jury. People don't realize. Look at O.J. Simpson. I know it's not the best example, but that was the only time the black man got off because he was black in his status, because he had a black jury. Look at Trayvon Martin. In a community that was 91% black, they got all white women. The second I heard that, I knew Zimmerman was gonna get off. But you made a comment about celebrities. A lot of the other issues too, these celebrities need to stop just saying stuff just to say it out of pressure.
Agreed.
Like Beyonce, and I know people love Beyonce, but I got ripped apart on Twitter because about her beehive. Ugh. And she made a comment saying all people, all lives matter, regardless of your color. And I'm like, no. All people are not going through what we're going through, Beyonce. You're wrong. you're wrong. And of course, people went off on me because it was her. And I said, you're not paying attention to what I'm upset with her about. I get what she was trying to do, but a lot of her fan bases are people who are not Black. She didn't want to piss them off.
Right. But well, I totally disagreed with her video. I'm sorry. You need to use the term Black.
Yeah,
this is about Black people. This ain't the time to be politically correct. I'm sorry. It's not.
Right.
And I agree about that, because when you have people willing across the pond, as they say, right? That's what they say, across the pond.
Right.
You're across the pond, really willing to stand up and be like, this in America is still going on, cut it out.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and they're not saying it that nice, but you know.
No, I get it. It annoyed me. And you have P. Diddy sitting here saying, you know, it's all people need to get along and unite. No.
They not messing up their coin, period. They not finna mess up their coin. It goes back to what Horace said earlier.
Has her, no, they're not gonna mess up their endorsement deal.
Horace said earlier, nobody's willing to sacrifice for the cause.
But the thing
they not finna sacrifice that coin. You see that BS that Jay-Z put out about the NFL messing up?
Yeah. And people immediately attacked me for, oh, you just don't like her. And I said, it has nothing to do with that, because if she would have said, if Lil Kim, and everyone knows I hate Lil Kim, if Lil Kim came out and said the right thing, I will retweet it, although she has me blocked. But I will retweet it and say, oh my God.
She has you blocked?
I am blocked by half of these, okay? Anyways, Wendy Williams blocked me, okay? But regardless, the point is, get the message.
Jeff Yuppie on Twitter.
You have millions of people looking up to you. Use this time to properly speak out. Don't just say nothing just to get attention or whatever she was trying to do.
I just think at the end of the day, everyone is their own celebrity in their own right. Meaning you have somebody looking up to you. Use your power for good. Use it. The other thing is that honestly, no matter what is going on, you know, I really do agree with the fact that we do, as Horace says, we do need to come together as a people. We need to come together and we need to figure out what our steps are, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to do our own thing, and that is not going to work. United we stand, divided we fall. I'm gonna keep saying it. No matter if Candy and I get agree to disagree, trust and believe me, I will be right next to her on whatever line I needed to be on in order to be united.
Yeah,
because I'm not gonna be divided.
Go back to that question.
Go ahead.
Back to that question. Someone said, "Do you think?" Because I really want to say this.
That's my mama's question. I can tell y'all right now. I know the question you're going to. My mama asked about whether we think protesting is effective right now. I'm trying to. It's a lot.
Okay. 10 years ago, I was out there marching.
Hold on. Let Horace get his point in. Go ahead.
10 years ago, when I was out there marching, you know, I was front line. I'm taking my own money. We're organizing. We're protesting. We're marching. And one day, I had an epiphany. If Martin Luther King was here, Martin Luther King wouldn't be goddamn walking. And then the march was symbolic. Again, it wasn't the march that changed shit. It was him shutting down the economy. So when I see people marching, I like to see us combine. But while we combine collectively at those marches, y'all need to be doing voter registration and seeing somebody come out their pocket with $1 or $2, and let's put that money into some kind of PAC or for that event. We're going to march and collect money to sponsor and support the Justice League or whatever it is, the Black Police Academy, whatever it is. Collectively, our pockets have to be the new voice.
Let me ask you this, Horace. We're speaking of voices. How many white police officers have spoken up? I haven't seen enough.
Not enough. I've seen a few, but not enough.
Now let me ask you.
I have Alex's question up for a reason, because my question is, which America? Are we talking about white America or Black America? Because it's more than one America. It's two Americas.
Absolutely is. I agree.
So his question is valid. His question is absolutely valid. When he says, when is America going to play by their own rules? And the question is, are we talking about which America? Because in Chris Rock, when he's in Head of State, that movie, it's a parody, but my God, he was telling the truth. He was exposing a lot. And so when the man kept saying, which America? He said, He said North America. Why? Because the rules, there's two different written rules. We have one constitution, but baby, the way the laws are interpreted, it's different for Black America, white America, Asian America, Hispanic America,
especially
whatever. It's not the same. The red man America, the Native Americans whose land this really is, it's not the same.
I want to answer
this question. I honestly asked him this question, not as to be funny, but we really have to, in order to answer this question, you really got to figure out which America are you talking about. Go ahead, Horace.
I was going to ask Jeff. I want to answer that because we go to the voting box and vote Democrat, no matter who's running for office. Yeah. Because no matter how disrespected we are, we're going to spend our money there anyway. Yeah. Just like we just had with we couldn't get people to stay out of the damn nail shops for 2 weeks, right? So the golden rule here is until we recognize that in America is one golden rule, there is no problem until it is validated by white America. Back in the days when we was losing money or the economy crashed, Black people are already experiencing that. It's not a problem until white people start losing money. There's not a problem until child is killed. Everything in America, because we're so weak and we're such at the bottom of the food chain, has to be validated by white America.
You're right. They don't understand how
Well, can I say this? I think if you think about it, there's not amendments to the Constitution for no reason. When you think about the exclusion of specific types of people, even from sports, women being excluded from sports and all the, you have to have the Title IX amendment and all these other amendments. There's so many amendments to the Constitution to show that we're not playing by a specific set of rules. We're not. Mm-hmm. Then you also have to think
run out. They have to re-vote on the civil rights. Well, every so many years they have to vote to keep that going. It's not permanent.
Right. And then the other thing is you need to really understand is Ruth Ginsburg is holding on by a damn thread. Let me tell you something. If this man puts another person in the Supreme Court, every brown person that are hanging on apply for citizenship somewhere else. I'm for real.
Yeah.
I'm moving overseas anyway, so.
I'm serious. If she's holding on by a thread, you need to vote. Like if besides all the other stuff I said, besides educate, you have got to vote. Period. Yeah. And you're right, Horace. You're absolutely right. You need to look at every single candidate. Like tomorrow, Maryland is voting tomorrow, and so is DC.
But here's the
Florida,
thing:
we vote in August, Florida.
But Biden already got the primary vote.
No, local.
No, I'm not even talking about. I'm talking about local
primaries.
That crooked part.
We got local primaries come August.
You have what?
We have local primaries. We have
local stuff. Local.
Yes.
Local is
statutes and stuff like that. Let me tell you something. These little local statutes that they're voting into law that you don't know that you're breaking. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be honest. Let me tell you something. I traveled through 3 different areas, Maryland, Virginia, and DC. All 3 of those areas have different statutes and laws that I don't know. If I make a right turn on 2nd Street in Maryland, that's not illegal. But if I come to Virginia, which is a Commonwealth, it's up to the cop to say whether or not it's illegal based on what he says. So you have to know where you're traveling as a person, period. Then you add this on top, and you don't get to choose whether you're brown or black or whatever. I'm just saying you've got to know what it is you need to vote, period.
That's why we say, that's why the big thing is, that's why I asked that question to Alex. I don't usually like to answer a question with a question, but you can't answer that question about playing by the rules when you don't know which America we're talking about, because it's clearly it's different versions of America. And so Horace, I think we need to have this and have Killer Mike in this conversation next time.
Yeah,
because I feel like we need his voice. He's always talking about it. It's not like this is his first time. He's always written. He's always talking about the collective voice and the collective conscience. And I think that to have someone like him to help us start steering this conversation in the right direction, even in local communities and local areas, to see how we can mobilize in our areas would be huge, because it's got to start somewhere. And beyond just talking about it, but a lot of communities of color, Black communities specifically, have no idea where to start, and we don't know how to redirect this energy. Not just that, we don't know how to tell our white counterparts who are looking to us for help. We don't even know how to ask for help. You don't have it because you don't ask, but we don't know what to ask for.
Dr. Hughes, Jeff said something and listen, I'm Black, I'm conservative, right? Jeff said something at the beginning of the hour. I'm Black first. This is my trademark. This wing,
I said that because I have a lot of white/Republican friends who've been very unhappy with my tweets, unfollowing me. They've been unhappy with some of my posts. And I have family too. Most of my family is Republican too. And I said that at the end of the day, I'm seeing first of all, color my skin first, and right and wrong is before political policies. There are period. And doesn't matter. So yeah, I did say that.
On this wing, you need to understand this, and people take it home. On this wing, you got Republicans. On this wing, you got Democrats. It's still the same fucking bird. We're Black people. And until we recognize it's seen as a power group, we will be in the same place. Like I said, kudos to LGBT community. They organize and they collectively turn themselves into, it's damn near like having another ethnicity. So
I'm gonna get to that too. And the community is so powerful that if there's an artist or something that says or does something to piss them off, they single-handedly would have the capital in them.
Capital.
Period.
Right.
A lot of Chrisette Michelle, although I disagree with this, she performed at the inauguration, and most of her fans are the LGBT community, and they said, we're not supporting you anymore. And you haven't heard from her. Carrie Hill talking about Beyonce. Most of Beyonce's fans are LGBT community. And we haven't heard from Carrie since they canceled her for coming at Beyonce. They have the power.
But you can say the N-word, you can say whatever you want. We still in the same place because we failed to recognize America's greed and their blueprint for being recognized in this country. America's
America and specifically white America's blueprint has not changed. The problem is we don't adjust. We don't even have our own blueprint. We don't even look at Huey P. Newton. We don't look at the Black Panther Party. We don't look at the civil rights. We don't look at all of these different blueprints to figure out how do we bring that up to the current time. Because we not renewed up here. We too. I love my people, but my God, we ignorant. Why in the blue hell did they have a mansion party? Right, coronavirus is still going on. It's that serious for you to party? Like the ignorance, and we can move forward. We're not outraged.
I'm going to say this. I wouldn't call them ignorant. I don't think that humans are meant to be locked up in the house like cavemen. I will admit
that mansion party was ridiculous. That Chicago house party. Guess what? Do you know how many coronavirus cases came out of those two?
Well, let me say
our community is disproportionately getting coronavirus.
Now, those corona things, when there is a mansion party, something that happened Saturday, and then Monday morning they're reporting, there's 10,000 new cases. I think that's full of crap. Because you don't get tested and know in 2 days, and those people did not go get tested. So I think that that's just a narrative. But I will say this: I will tell you, in about a week or two, as a result of these protests, they are going to say, there's a lot more cases to try to prove that these protests have caused people to get sick. They are be prepared for that. That's coming.
Oh yeah. But I'm not trying to be funny, but if you look at the videos, how many people got masks on?
None. Because they want to be seen and heard.
Not a lot of them. It's not a lot of people. So it depends on location. Because some locations, the people covered up in masks. And then other locations, I'm like, ain't nobody got no mask on.
Dr. Hughes, I said that a lot of the looting that you see is cabin fever. That's frustration.
That's what I think that is too.
Cabin fever.
Listen, did you see how many Karens was out there? One woman went to Urban Outfitters and homegirl had 2 shopping bags on both shoulders. And she was just casually shopping.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How about the lady with the 2 lamps in the Target? What is you really doing? What are you doing?
No,
I mean, she wasn't black, so I'm like, girl.
Horace?
The girl that went in and got dressed in Gucci and walked out with the whole Gucci outfit on. I really wanted the male or shoe to kick her in the ass. We fall into these stereotypes.
Wait.
That was so.
You know what that's doing? It is giving them a reason. It is giving them a reason to say, "Look, it is distracting from the point."
Thank you.
Oh, this.
That's what I mean by the ignorance. Come on now, you already we've already put it on blast what's happening on the inside, and you give them more.
That's what I just think we're villainizing ourselves.
I gotta take advantage because I'm never gonna get it. Sit down. If we collectively pool our money and get back to Greenwood, Oklahoma, and have our own, you won't have to be worried about. I gotta get it. I gotta get it. Are we serious?
Lenox Mall was an embarrassment, but it's COVID fever. Like I say, a lot of people are home frustrated. They are frustrated from being in the house. A lot of that is do the right thing.
Like Tiger said,
and I think a lot of this has built up, and again, all of this has been weaponized against us. Our community is already disproportionately getting COVID, testing positive for COVID-19. Yep. So all of this is being weaponized against us, and that's why I say we got to start thinking. We got to renew our minds and stop this nonsense. Like, listen, there's a bigger picture here. Step back, get like Moses, and get on high ground and see the bigger picture, and figure this thing out, because this don't make no sense. And so we're over our time. So Horace, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I forgot to mention this earlier. COVID-19. Do you know how many cases are going to be piled up after everything goes back to normal? The person that are being recognized off facial recognition, you're going to jail because you're going to jail.
They already used it now.
That Negro that stole the police horse, you're going to jail. The people that stole the cars from the dealership, you're going to jail. You are facial recognition. Right now, if I post a picture of either one of you on Facebook, it automatically tells me who you are, whether we're friends or not. All of those cases will not go dismissed.
Yeah.
It's already they're already using facial recognition to round folks up. They're already using it. They're using that iOS update. I posted about that. They're using that stuff against you already. So when this is over,
it's not. I think they're going to start getting caught now. I think that's why they're allowing people to do these things. At the end of the day, it's kind of like, well, you villainize, like you actually had something to be angry about. We do have something to be angry about. We do have the right to be angry about it. But how are we using, and I do agree with that, Candy. Sorry. How are we using that anger? How are we mobilizing it, like Horace said? But I do agree. We do have a cultural PTSD.
It's bad.
It's really bad. Like, I will tell you, watching the movie like Roots and really understand and going beyond that, like getting into college. And I went to a PWI, but I considered a good PWI because they didn't put censorship on our African studies teachers. So we got the real. Our African studies teachers were real with us, and we got the real. Now, it probably wasn't HBCU level because not everybody was taking it, but real from our teachers. And let me tell you something. They didn't play the radio. I went through 3 semesters of not having or not wanting to be around anybody that didn't look like me.
Right.
3 semesters, because I had to deal with all the stuff that was drudged up inside of me, and I didn't want to take it out on someone that was right now. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily that they don't deserve it, but if you're not technically doing anything to me right this second, then I shouldn't just come out and just smack the hell out of you because what's going on. But we are villainizing ourselves as we go into these stores and we're dressing up and we're doing the most. Isn't Gucci the one that said they didn't? Why are we pressed to get in that store? What is going on?
We hurt and we not want it. It's something about, and I didn't. That PTSD. We fight to go move in communities that don't want us. We want to wear what people don't want to wear.
Well,
illusion of inclusion.
Hey, then wear it then, because if it's gonna get on someone's nerves, then wear it then. But I'm not paying one red cent of my money for it.
Well, the thing is, people have become what Jeff has said it before on the show, label whores. They play the harlot to these labels, and it's ridiculous, as if our brands are inferior, and they are not. But we just, again, it's that Willie Lynch syndrome that Black is inferior. But y'all got to understand, if Black is inferior, why are they always trying to rape our culture? It's like culture vultures. I posted that earlier on my feed about culture vultures. How people will absolutely rape and pillage our culture for themselves and turn it against us and make money off of it. And we can do almost similarly the same thing, like these African patterns, but we won't buy it off of no African designer or a Black owned shop, but we'll pay for it off of a Chinese shop owner.
Now, did you see that Black designer that had that virtual? She had the virtual.
She did that. She did that.
I was trying to look to see how I could order something. I don't know what coins are for some of that.
It's different in Africa. So, but yeah, she's a Nigerian designer, and it's beautiful.
She did that.
She did that. She did, because fashion weeks were canceled. She created her own virtual runway with her designs, and they were amazing. And so, you guys, we're over our time. We're gonna figure out when this is a great conversation. We're gonna figure out when we're gonna have another one. We're gonna continue this conversation. We're gonna see if we can get Killer Mike in the conversation, because I feel like, people like him can help us move in the direction and really spearhead this conversation, so that we can really start collectively thinking about the best way forward. How do we mobilize ourselves with our vote? Because your vote is your voice. I want to hear you talking about 4 years from now, oh, they need to earn my vote. What are you doing in between this time? So between 3 years ago and now, what was you doing to mobilize to get to the candidate of your choice? Like, I want to hear that, because at this point, this is who we got.
There is no perfect. Look at Kamala Harris. She turned black.
I'm sorry, I love her.
All of a sudden turned black when she started running.
As a human being, but sis didn't answer some questions that I had. You know what I'm saying?
It was stuff that you could tell they told her what to say. I'm like, now you want to show your edges. Now you want to listen to Cardi B. Now you want to be black. I'm like, shut your ass.
There's a lot. There's a lot. You can't be waiting until 69 months.
I don't want her, because she's trying to make teachers work till like 6 at night. And first of all, they don't. I'm sorry, as people know,
y'all do a lot at home. Y'all do a lot of preparation.
Right, but the other thing is, as people have found out from COVID, I don't want to be in the classroom with your child longer than I'm already. So I'm sorry.
Like babysitter. And on that note, because we're not your babysitter. I teach at the collegiate level, and I'm telling you right now, a lot of y'all can't write at a 5th grade level. We're not your babysitter. And no child left behind left a whole lot of people behind in America. And so that's that. That's that. I said what I said. Horace.
I apologize if I was a little emotional tonight.
Yeah, me too. I apologize. I kind of went off.
Never, ever apologize for speaking your truth. Ever. Yeah. And that's you say, the same thing. If you do not let people bully you to tell you cannot feel a certain way, do not let social media bully you. Do not say what is on your heart. Always. Even if you because those who leave your side were not there with you from the beginning.
Right.
Well, y'all kind of do know that's who I am.
A whole lot more times during these conversations. That doesn't mean I'm weak, but I need to feel what I feel and get it out so I can redirect that energy in the right direction.
You kind of go off though on your homegirl and.
But I mean, we're mature, and that's why we have these conversations, because we know how to agree to disagree in a safe space to be able to have that conversation. And so. That's how we're going to move. That's the only way we can move forward, because I felt your pain, man. I was over here tearing up because I felt your pain. And I think that's the strength of these conversations. Feel what you feel. We create that safe space to have these conversations. When we say it's uncomfortable conversations with common people, that's who we are. And we're not afraid to have uncomfortable conversations like this, because we're common people. We feel it. We go through it. and people can identify with it. Our question is, how do we mobilize our voices to move it forward? So stay tuned for the next
challenge is for every viewer to share this with 3 people.
Please, please, please share it. Host watch parties and talk amongst yourselves. Email us, DM us. Let's have conversation. If you have some ideas, questions, send it to us so that, we can be prepared to have. The goal is to move the conversation forward. We don't want to just be talking because I can't. It's like having a meeting just to be meeting. I want to do that. I want to move us forward collectively as a people. Even if we build a virtual community, let's do that. I'm really about creating a safe space, and this is a safe space for us to be able to have this conversation and do what we need to do. Horace?
This is to add to Epiphany. My homework for everyone. As a family, have a conversation, whether it's an hour, have a conversation about race. Ask your kids what they're experiencing at school, out of school. And most of all, I had a conversation this week with my son, who as much as I do political stuff, my son said, what do I do if I'm pulled over by a cop? And I actually made him a scenario.
I saw that.
And, it turned serious for him to feel that need that bothered me. It bothered me, but I had to have that with my son.
You have to P's and Q's.
Listen, let me say this as a Black woman. I told you I was going to cry. I made it through most of the show, though. Let me say this as a Black woman. Okay.
Oh, Lord, Dr. Hughes.
I have an issue that we as Black people have to have conversations with our children that white people don't have to have, but they should be having it. Understand that racism is a learned behavior. It is taught. You don't come out the womb hating somebody because you don't have enough knowledge. Racism is a space created in people's heart. It is wicked. It is evil at its core to hate somebody, and you don't even have a rationale for why you hate people. It's just that way. And the fact that we have to have these conversations with our family, the fear that comes with the fact that you don't know if your loved one is going to come home. You don't know if you're going to be the next one to get that phone call. So for us to see and hear this stuff like George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, their blood cries out to us because, my God, it could be us any day. Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor's. As a woman, just because I'm a woman, don't make me immune or safe any more than the next person. So for me and for a lot of us, and the things that we do, it's not that. Check in and don't give lip, because I don't know if you made it home. I don't care if it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock in the morning.
My mom has my location.
Check in.
My mom has
text me and say, I made it home okay, because so many people don't.
Yeah.
Okay. We need to be smart.
Yeah.
And we need to understand that could be my daddy. That could be my cousin. That could be my brother. That can be my sister and my mama. When they hurt that senior citizen in Utah, a senior citizen with a cane, that could be my grandmother. That could be yours. And that was a white man. Understand that when we say we are at war in this country.
Wait a minute, the man with the crossbow?
No. Okay. That's different. Okay, so sorry. The other day, so on that same day,
it's so much.
The police was riling up people so much that there was a senior citizen on the sidewalk. He didn't even know what was going on. He just leisurely strolling, and they bullied him and mishandled that man so bad. And it's like, this is a senior
citizen. But the other thing is, when they were in Minneapolis the other day, they arrested the news anchor, and the news anchor was on the news.
When your hate is so strong,
like that.
Right. When your hate is so strong, this is where we are. When we say we are at war, this is where we are. When the hate is so strong, you don't even care that you're attacking white people. We don't want martial law. You don't want to go in that direction. You need to understand how serious this is, because you might not come home one day. You got to wake up, be smart, get out your feelings, and figure out a way to work it out. I don't care if you go to the gym and work it out. I don't care if you go for a walk, exercise. Don't walk in no strange neighborhoods. Walk in your neighborhood.
Please
walk
don't.
where people know you and see you, or whatever the case may be. Figure it out. Get you a YouTube video or something. Exercise in your house. Figure out a way to deal with how you feel with your emotions right now, because everything is being weaponized against us, and we cannot continue to let it stand, because I promise you everybody is at a breaking point.
Go on.
Too many dead bodies. And I promise you, when we say we are at war, we're not just, oh, they hyping it up like coronavirus ain't real. No. Police brutality is real. This ain't something we made up.
Right.
It's real.
I can't stand when people say, and we could talk about this later on a part 2. My white friends, I tell them all the time, oh, well, if you just stay out of trouble, if you just stay out of, don't commit crime, you won't get.
Let me tell you, I committed a crime. What was it? I committed a crime a couple months ago or a few months ago. I ran a red light. And I was caught, so I'm not telling no story. And I was in Virginia, and it was at 5 a.m, and I got real worried, and I said, I don't know. I really thought, okay, you need to be very intelligent about how you go about your way. And let me say this, what it was is, you know how you sit at the light and there's a light here and then there's another immediate light. Well,
you were looking at that other light.
The one farther one turned green, and I just thought that this one closer to me had turned green also. So I just kind of went through the light. It's 5 a.m. I have to leave early for work. Fine. So I wasn't speeding through the light or anything. Of course, I said, well, God, if I get caught, as soon as I thought, if I get caught, there goes the lights. I said, well, Lord, if it's my time to go, then immediately, if it's my time to go.
Think that. You see what I'm saying? Like, do y'all understand the fact that she shouldn't even have to think that way?
I'm not going to make this a Me Too moment, because we all have them. Yeah. I got pulled over one time for my right signal being on too long. And then when he pulled me over, 10 other police cars pulled up. And when
that wasn't my situation, but thank God.
Because he's a man. He's a black man.
But when I called and I was dressed, I had a tank top on. I was coming from the gym. And when I called my uncle and said, look, my uncle works for the Supreme Court, let me call him so he could hear you guys. 4 of the cops pulled out their guns and pointed at me and said, put your phone down. And when I complained, I never heard back. So that's what I'm saying. This happened in Fairfax County.
Yeah.
Fairfax County. Right on Little River Turnpike.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's the true story. Like, so for my situation, the guy said, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" I said yes, and I told him the story. Then he was like, "Okay, let me see your license." He came back, and I think because I admitted why I had run the light, I don't know. I didn't give him a real reason to do anything to me, but the fact of the matter remains, I knew I was in the wrong. Right. So I was in the wrong because I ran the red light. But at the end of the day, I didn't have, thank God, I didn't have 10 police cars come after me or anything like that.
And you're beautiful. So you couldn't
see, it was so dark in the morning. I don't know about that.
I think there's a less fear of a black woman than a black man. They're immediately intimidated by black men than a black woman.
You have to think about this too. Black men are what carries on our race.
Yeah. You cannot protect what you're afraid of.
Yeah. Right. And black men are what carry on our race. We can't have a race if we don't have any black men around.
Yeah. I want to encourage people. I have this. Hold on. Just so y'all know.
Uh-oh.
I talked about this earlier.
What is that? Can you put it up to the
camera? Art of War?
Why I gotta be
I talked about this book earlier. Okay, this is the Willie Lynch letter.
Because we can't see it.
It's the Willie Lynch letter and the making of a slave. Okay, this is available at Barnes and Noble. It's like $5. Do yourself a favor and read this. It's so many Black people that don't even believe that that this exists. It's uncanny. But when you read it, you see the plot. They don't deviate from the blue. You want the blueprint that they operate under? This is the blueprint.
And Jeff,
this is their blueprint. And they do not deviate from this. The only thing it does is it grows and it changes over with the time. But that's their blueprint. The question is, what's ours?
Butt breaking.
So again, that's it. We went over our time, but again, this is just it's a much needed conversation. This Friday, we're having our after dark. It won't be about this. It'll be something definitely lighthearted that some of y'all probably need to be talking about. So join us Friday night after dark at 10 o'clock. But we will be having another conversation about this. Again, we're going to look at for us to see if we can get Killer Mike or someone else on to really be in on this conversation to help guide us and steer us so that we can redirect this energy and really get it going in the right direction. We have some great ideas. I'm very serious, about having this directory of businesses, but understand that it will be vetted because we don't believe, at least I don't believe in promoting any business and putting anything out there that ain't legal. Amen. And if you're not legal, we're going to give you the resources to get you on the right track so you can be a viable business so that if anything happens, your business can be sustained. Okay. Because we got to move forward. And it's time that we do it, not just be talking about it, but let's do it. And so thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for, really being in the conversation. Host watch parties, share it with 3 people, tag your friends. Have your own conversations, DM us, questions, comments, things you want to talk about in the next time, and really mobilize because this is, we need this. We really do. And it's, we need it. So we love you so very much. Please take care of yourselves. And above all, you got to be smart and be careful in these streets because there's a plot, there's a plan, and we're working towards being able to breathe. And that's the thing. We all want and need to breathe, and that's what we're working towards. So right now, that's what these conversations are about. How do we bend the policy so that, guess what? We can breathe. We can breathe. Just period. So love you guys. You all have a great night, and we appreciate you so much. If I can end the broadcast. I'm trying.
This happens to you often.